Hey guys, this is Dan Seifert from mobileburn.com, and today I'm taking a quick look at the Samsung Conquer 4G for Sprint. The Conquer 4G is a 4G equipped WiMAX phone, and it is the lowest cost WiMAX phone to ever be released by Sprint. It's coming out at a pretty low price point of about $100 when it gets released. Now, the Conquer 4G is an Android 2.3 Gingerbread device. It's running Android 2.3.4, and it features Sprint's ID customization system. If you're looking at the front of the phone, we've got a 3.5-inch screen. This screen is an HVGA screen, so it's got 320 by 480 pixels of resolution. The resolution is pretty grainy. I don't know if you can really tell in this video here, but despite it having HVGA resolution, which would normally be just fine on a 3.5-inch screen, I found it to be quite a bit grainier than I was expecting. Elsewhere on the front of the phone, we've got 4 hardware buttons for menu, home, back, and search. And then up top, you've got a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera, and next to that is an actual notification light, which is kind of rare to see for a Samsung smartphone these days. If we look at the side of the phone, you can see the Samsung Conquer 4G is fairly thick. It's about 11.7 millimeters thick. It's an all-plastic construction, as many Samsung phones are, so it doesn't feel super high quality, but given its price point, that's not a huge surprise. On this side, we've got a volume rocker and what looks to be like a lanyard loop there. If we turn the phone over to the bottom, you've got your micro USB charging and syncing port. Then on the other side, you've got a two-stage camera key, not much else. And up top is the power sleep unlock key and 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. If we flip it over, take a look at the back, you've got this nice textured back here that offers a bit of grip when you're holding the phone. It is kind of like a soft touch rubbery plastic. And then there's a 3.2 megapixel camera with autofocus and a flash, and next to that is the speaker. If we pop open the battery cover door here, and get a look at what's underneath, we've got a 1500 milliamp hour battery. Samsung said you should be able to get about 6 hours of talk time with the battery on the Conquer 4G. And underneath that, there isn't too much. As far as cards go, the micro SD card is actually tucked all the way up here, and Sprint and Samsung have included a 2 GB card there, which you can see. The Conquer 4G has about 540 megabytes of internal storage available for apps to the user, and of course you can move apps to the SD card if necessary. The version of Android that is installed on the Conquer 4G is pretty bone stock. It is Android 2.3.4, as I previously mentioned, and there isn't too much customization done to it, save for the Sprint ID button, which is down at the dock there, normally where the browser shortcut is. Otherwise, you've got 5 home screens that you can populate with shortcuts and widgets, and there's a number of instructions preloaded on each home screen to help you out for the first time that you're using it. The notification bar is bone stock. There's none of the shortcuts that we've seen on other Samsung phones up in the notification area. You can tap the home and hold the dots on the side to access a home screen quickly and easily. And of course, this grid here will open up your full application tray, which is again a stock application tray. There are a couple of customizations that Samsung has done. The email client is special, and it features some shortcuts at the top to access your various folders, which is nice and convenient, and something that we've seen on previous Samsung Android phones. You can manage multiple messages at once, and if you happen to have more than one email account set up, you can see both accounts in a unified inbox view. The email client supports formatted text, so you can have different colors and sizes and bold and italics, and it does feature pinch to zoom as well, as you can see there. Now, the Conquer 4G is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, so it doesn't feature the Hummingbird processor from Samsung that we've seen in other Samsung devices, but it certainly is pretty fast for a mid-level or entry-level Android phone. It's not going to win any speed competitions against high-end phones or dual-core phones today, but it definitely gets the job done for most intents and purposes, and for the average user that would be interested in the Conquer 4G. The messaging client is bone stock. It is the same messaging client that we've seen on other stock Android phones. As you can see, your messages come up in a threaded conversation view. Samsung and Sprint have included the Swipe keyboard. This is an older version of Swipe. It doesn't have the newest features, so it doesn't give you the inline message or inline word selection that we've seen on more recent versions of Swipe, but it works just about the same. You can, of course, switch to the stock Android keyboard if that's what you prefer as well. Now, Sprint has not pre-installed too many applications on the Conquer 4G, so it's a fairly stock experience. The only ones that have really been pre-installed is the Quick Video app, which is there because the Google Talk application does not support the video calling feature, even though this is Android 2.3.4. So the Quick Video app uses the front-facing camera for video calling. Then you've got Sprint Hotspot for mobile hotspot functions, Sprint ID, which you can change the different widgets and pre-installed applications, Sprint Mobile Wallet Service, and the Sprint Zone application. And other than that, you've got a visual voicemail application, and that's about it. I installed the Quadrant and the speed test apps to do some benchmarking, and the Elixir app for more information about specs, but other than that, it's pretty bone stock. Sprint has continued its practice of giving you the option to remove applications if you don't want them. However, because there aren't too many pre-installed on here, the only one that's removable from Sprint are the tutorial widgets there. But as you can see, you've got about 540 megabytes of app storage space, which is a fairly good amount. And of course, you can move them to the SD card if necessary. If we take a look at the browser is a pretty stock version of the Android browser. It is equipped with Flash. Flash Player 10.3 out of the box, so it does play back Flash videos. Let's take a look at our web page here, and by default it loads up our mobile web page. And if we go to the full site, as you can see there, it's loading the web page pretty quickly. It's got our embedded video over there, and it's just populating the last of the Flash ads that come up with the site. Double tap to zoom functions, and of course so does pinch to zoom. Not buttery smooth pinch to zoom, but it is fairly smooth and smoother than on other lower powered devices that we've seen. And if you are looking at multiple paragraphs of text and you double tap to zoom, it should reflow the text for you once the page is loaded. There we go. And of course the browser works in landscape mode as well. And you can run multiple windows. If you hit the menu button, you can add a new window there and then go back to switch between the ones that you have open. And we'll try to play our embedded video here. Let's see if that works for us. Yeah, we see Michael's tour of the BlackBerry Torch 9810. And this playback is fairly smooth, and volume is pretty good and loud. Now the Conquer 4G is equipped with a 3 megapixel autofocus camera with a flash. You can launch the camera with the camera key on the side, so if you hold that down for a second, it will pop open the camera interface. As you can see, it's a pretty standard Android camera interface. Samsung has not really customized it too much. You do have an on-screen shutter key. You can switch between still and video capture, and you can access your recently captured photos. And you do have a couple different settings for focusing and exposure. There's a few different scene modes that you can choose from, and you can customize the color effect on the images as well as some other photography controls. You can set your location if you'd like that. Your white balance you can control. Your flash controls are here. You can zoom in, as you can see there. However, the volume keys do not zoom, which is a little surprising. And then if you hit this button here, you can switch between the rear 3 megapixel camera, or you can turn on the 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera there. As far as actual picture taking, it's not the fastest for sure. It takes a moment to focus. Once it has achieved focus, it does take the picture pretty quickly. Let's get some different profiles of our model here. And then you can take a look at the image directly in the gallery afterwards. And you can pinch to zoom on it. You can scroll around with it, swipe to see the older photos. And of course you have the option to share it to various Android applications. Video capture is limited to 640 by 480, so you do not have HD video capture here. And you can start and stop video with the button on the screen there. It will not autofocus while it records, it doesn't seem. And then once you have recorded your video, you can review it immediately, just like you can with the still photos. And you can start and stop video with the button on the screen there. It will not autofocus while it records, it doesn't seem. There you go. So there you have it. That's a Samsung Conquer 4G for Sprint. This is a 4G equipped WiMAX smartphone running Android 2.3.4 Gingerbread. It's got a 3.5-inch HVGA screen. We do wish the screen would be a little bit higher quality. I understand that Samsung was attempting to keep costs down with this particular model so that it could be introduced at a lower entry-level price. However, it would have been great to see the 3.5-inch screen that we saw on the Exhibit 4G for T-Mobile, which had an HVGA resolution. Otherwise, you've got an all-plastic body, fairly thick, about 11.7 millimeters. It's very lightweight, though. It's only 116 grams, thanks to the all-plastic construction. 3.2 megapixel autofocus camera with a flash, however no HD video. 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, so it certainly is snappy enough for most tasks and purposes. Samsung and Sprint will be releasing this phone soon. You can pick it up for about $100 on contract with a new 2-year agreement. So there you have it. It's a Samsung Conquer 4G. This is Dan Seifert from mobileburn.com.